Another concept of corpus linguistic is parsing. Parsing is actually related to the automatic analysis of text according to a grammar. Therefore, parsing is related to automatic analysis of text according to a grammar. Technically, it is used to refer to practice of assigning syntactic structure to a text. It refers to assigning syntactic structure to a text. It is usually performed after the basic morphosyntactic categories have been identified within a text. Based on different grammars like dependency grammar, context-free phrase structure grammar, systematic functional grammar, extended affix grammar, parsing brings these morphosyntactic categories into higher level syntactic relationships with one another. Sentence level parsing involves automatic context-based as well as context-free syntactic analysis using information acquired from word level processing. Okay, therefore, parsing is automatic analysis of text according to grammar. It refers to assigning syntactic structure to text. It performed after the morphosyntactic categories have been identified within text. Based on the different grammar, parsing brings these morphosyntactic categories into a higher level syntactic relationship with one another. Sentence level parsing involves automatic context-based as well as context-free syntactic analysis using information acquired from word level processing. A parsed corpus is known as tree bank. Therefore, when we told you about tree bank, we mean a parsed corpus. Therefore, a parsed corpus is known as a tree bank because it alludes to tree diagrams used in parsing. The visual diagram of tree structure is rarely found in corpus annotation. Generally, identical information is represented using sets of label brackets. Thus, Pierre sat on a chair. This sentence will appear in a tree bank in the following way. Okay, here you can see one example of tree bank, which is the parsed corpus for this sentence. Pierre sat on a chair. Please look at this example. Pay attention to the annotation here, the syntactic annotation. For example, at first we have a square bracket, and after the square bracket we have S, and at the end of this sentence we have a square bracket and S. It means that we have two S at the beginning and at the end of the example, which stands for sentence. And here we can see NP before the Perl, which is NP, and VP, which means verb phrase, which is sat, PP, which means preposition phrase, on, A is article, chair is noun, and here we can see the type of this noun. At the beginning of the verb phrase and at the end of the verb phrase we have VP. In the following we should we explain these signs and these symbols. Where morphosyntactic information is attached to words by underscore characters while constituents are indicated by opening and closing square brackets annotated at the beginning and at the end with the phrase type. Okay, we had the opening and closing square bracket annotated at the beginning and at the end here. For example, here we have SS, and you can see it in this sentence. SS with opening square bracket and closing square bracket. Not all parsing systems are similar. They are not similar to each other. The main differences are, here we will be familiar with the differences between the parsing system. The number of constituent type which a system employs. 2. The way in which constituent types are allowed to combine with each other. The way in which constituent types are allowed to combine with each other. However, despite these differences, majority of parsing schemas are based on a form of context-free phrase structure grammar. Within this system, a full parsing schema aims at providing a detailed analysis of sentence structure, while a skeleton parsing scheme tends to use a less finely distinguished set of syntactic constituent types and ignores internal structure of certain constituent types. Parsing is most often post-edited by human analysts because automatic parsing has a lower success rate than a part-of-speech annotation. The disadvantage of full manual parsing is inconsistency on behalf of analysts engaged in parsing or editing corpus. To overcome this, more detailed guidelines are provided, but even then ambiguities may occur when multiple interpretations are possible. Tree banks are language resource that provides annotations of natural languages at various levels of structure. At word level, phrase level, sentence level, and sometimes at the level of function argument structure. Okay, the tree banks, here you will be familiar with the characteristics and of the tree banks, which tree banks are language resource that provides annotations of natural languages at various levels of structure, at word level, phrase level, sentence level, and sometimes at the level of function argument structure. Tree banks have become crucially important for developing data-driven approaches to natural language processing. Human language technologies, grammar extraction, and linguistic research in general. There are a few ongoing projects on compilation of representative tree banks of many European and USA languages. Implementation of such system on Indian corpora requires more time and research. Processing of corpus text is of high importance to any language processing system that attempts to use natural language in some way or other. Advanced requirements of user raise need for efficient and widely applicable systems. Need for comprehensive processing capabilities has a strong interface among theoretical, applied, and computational linguistics. Given the complexity of natural languages, it is always difficult for a machine to make accurate decisions about any property of language. Therefore, occasional errors in processing should not be taken as a major roadblock to research in language processing. An interactive computer program designed specifically for checking errors can make this process much faster and more reliable. Okay, here you can see some features of the processing of the corpus text. About the utility of corpus. Unless defined otherwise, let us consider that a corpus should possess all the properties mentioned in section 3. You can Refer to the section 3 in the previous sessions. In essence, a corpus is an empirical standard which acts as a benchmark for validation of usage of linguistic properties found in language. If one analyzes a corpus database, one can retrieve the following information about the language or variety. Here you want to be familiar with the utility of corpus, which one analyzes a corpus database, one can retrieve the following information about a language or variety. Number 1. Information about all the properties and components used in a language, like sound, phonemes, intonation, letters, punctuation, morphemes, words, stems, bases, lemmas, compounds, phrases, idioms, set phrases, reduplication, proverbs, clauses, sentences, and etc. Grammatical and functional information of letters, graphemes, allographemes, morphemes, words, phrases, sentences, idiomatic expressions, proverbs, etc. Relating to their structure, composition, patterns of using affixes and inflection, patterns of constituent structure, context of use, usage patterns, variation of contexts, and etc. Usage-based information of letters, characters, phonemes, morphemes, words, compounds, phrases, sentences, relating their descriptive, stylistic, metaphorical, allegorical, idiomatic, and figurative usage. Extra-linguistic information relating to time, place, situation, and agent of language events, social, cultural backgrounds of linguistic acts, life and living of target speech community, discourse and pragmatic, as well as the world knowledge of the language user at large. You can get this information from the corpus. It is understandable that developing a corpus in accordance with these preconditions mentioned above is really a tough task. However, we can simplify the task to some extent if we redefine the entire concept of corpus generation based on object-oriented and work-specific needs. Since it is known that all types of corpus should not follow the same set of designing and composition principles, we can have liberty to design a corpus keeping in mind the works we are planning to do with it. The underlying proposition is that the general principles and conditions of corpus generation may vary depending on the purpose of a corpus developer or a user. Corpus linguistics is, however, not the same thing as obtaining language databases through the use of a computer. Therefore, corpus linguistics is, however, not the same thing as obtaining language databases through the use of computer. It is a processing and analysis of data stored within a corpus. The main task of a corpus linguist is not to gather databases, but to analyze these. Computer is a useful and sometimes indispensable tool for carrying out these activities. What about the use of corpus? There are a number of areas where language corpus is directly used, as in language description, study of syntax, phonetics and phonology, prosody, annotation, morphology, lexicology, semantics, lexicography, discourse, pragmatics, language teaching, language planning, socio-linguistics, psycholinguistics, semiotic, cognitive linguistics, computational linguistics, to mention a few. Here you can see some areas where language corpus is directly used in this field. In fact, there is hardly any area of linguistics where Corpus has not found its utility. This has been possible due to great possibilities offered by computer in collecting, storing, and processing natural language databases. The availability of computers and machine-readable corpora has made it possible to get data quickly and easily, and also to have this data presented in a format suitable for analysis. Corpus as a knowledge resource. Corpus is used for developing multilingual libraries. It is used for developing multilingual libraries, designing course books for language teaching, compiling monolingual dictionaries, printed and electronic, developing bilingual dictionaries, printed and electronic, multilingual dictionaries, printed and electronic, monolingual thesaurs, printed and electronic version, various reference materials, printed and electronic version, developing machine-readable dictionaries, MRDS, developing multilingual lexical resources, electronic dictionary, easily portable, can be duplicated as many copies as needed, can be modified easily for newer versions, can be customized according to need of user, and can be read and accessed easily, more durable than printed dictionaries. Corpus in language technology. Corpus is used for designing tools and systems for word processing. And Corpus in language technology, Corpus is used for designing tools and systems for word processing, spelling checking, text editing, morphological processing, sentence parsing, frequency counting, item search, text summarization, text annotation, information retrieval, concordance, word sense disambiguation, WordNet or SymSet, semantic web, semantic net, part of speech, tagging, local word grouping, etc. Corpus for translation support systems. Corpus is used for language resource access systems, machine translation systems, multilingual information access systems, and cross-language information retrieval systems, and etc. Corpus for human-machine interface systems. Corpus is used for OCR, voice recognition, text-to-speech, e-learning, online teaching, e-text preparation, question answering, computer assisted language education, computer aided instruction, governance. Corpus in speech technology. A speech corpus is used to develop general framework for speech technology, phonetic, lexical, pronunciations, variability, and dialectal version, automatic speech recognition, automatic speech synthesis, automatic speech processing, speaker identification, repairing speech disorders, and forensic linguistics. Corpus in mainstream linguistics. Corpus is used for language description, lexicography, lexicology, paripesa formation, grammar writing, semantic study, language learning, dialect study, sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, stylistics, bilingual dictionary extraction, translation, equivalence, generation of terminology data bank, lexical selection restriction, dissolving lexical ambiguity, grammatical mapping, semiotic, pragmatic, and discourse study. Potential corpus users. Here in this part you can be familiar with the potential corpus users. Let us visualize that language corpora can be used by language specialists who are interested in the language of a text, content specialists who are interested in the content of a text, and media specialists who are interested in corpus as testbed for electronic devices. Okay, here we can visualize or imagine that language corpora can be used by a language specialists who are interested in language of a text, content specialists who are interested in the content of a text, and media specialists who are interested in the corpus as testbed for electronic devices. Among the language specialists, lexicographers consult corpus for information on actual and specific use of words, lexemes, phrases, idioms, and etc. They process corpus in order to develop lexical databases, dictionaries, thesaurus, and reference materials. The terminologists and technical writers use corpus database to standardize the technical terminology as well as increase terminology databases. Theoreticians use corpus as a large body of mass representation of facts of language. For them, corpus yield data on relative frequency of phenomena of all kinds and provides scope for verification of evidences of their own or their informants. Applied linguistics use corpus in language teaching since it supplies resources for extracting and studying language with authority of attested use. Among the content specialists, historians are able to track development of opinions and ideas through the study of words, phrases, and sentences that refer to them in the corpus. They also use data and analyzed corpus to discover implicit time and place stamps, which they use to identify documents whose origin is obscured. Literary critics use corpus for research into stylometrics, since statistical analysis of word use plays crucial role in determining ascription of dubious works to non-authors. Such techniques become more effective when linguists discover significant features present at a higher level than individual words. Besides acting as a mass training ground for techniques, it is used as a resource for statistical information on the differences of style characteristics, different group identified by age, sex, period, country of origin, and etc. Sociologists use corpus in similar fashion to characterize different groups belonging to a different class, race, creed, ethnicity, and etc. Among the media specialists, information retrievers use corpus to devise mechanism for extracting appropriate information from bodies of text to build up linguistic knowledge base, find information of items for indexing, and summarize important contents of text. Computational linguists use corpus to integrate their work with statistical regularities found in corpus, which work as an important key to analyze and process language. Also, corpus as a source of data and knowledge base is used for testing presence or absence of regularities in language, since statistical techniques become more effective when they work on outputs of some grammatically analyzed corpora. Matching translators may access corpus to extract necessary and relevant linguistic information and verify efficiency of their systems. Since corpus makes significant contribution to enhance actual capability of systems. Moreover, domain-specific corpus enables systems to adapt self-organizing approach to supplement traditional knowledge-based approaches. The language processing people benefit more and more from the development of corpus of various types, since both raw and annotated corpora are used in a large scale for developing language processors. It is suffice to say that corpus is a beneficial resource for all, including researchers, technologists, writers, lexicographers, academicians, teachers, students, language learners, scholars, publishers, and others. Okay. Another title is a limitation of corpus. Here we will be familiar with the limitation of corpus. 1. Lack of linguistic generativity. Chomsky and his supporters have strongly criticized the value of corpus in linguistic research. At the University of Texas in 1958, he argued any natural corpus will be skewed. Some sentences won't occur because they are obvious, others because they are false, still others because they are impolite. The corpus, if natural, will be so widely skewed that the description based upon it would be no more than a mere list. Generativists argue that corpus cannot provide evidence for linguistic innateness. By virtue of its structure and content, it only can represent the linguistic performances, but doesn't reflect on the linguistic competence and generativity of the users. A corpus which records only the examples of performance cannot be useful to linguists who seek to understand the tacit, internalized knowledge of language rather than the external evidences of language use on various contexts. Technical difficulties. Corpus building is a large-scale, multi-directional interpreting work. It is a complex, time-consuming, error-prone, and expensive task. The whole enterprise requires an efficient data processing systems, which may not be available to all, particularly in a country like India. Linguists need to be trained in computer use and data handling. It is a troublesome task. Unlike linguists of other countries, Indian linguists are not eager to take up computer into their stride. Computer scientists, on the other hand, are also not enthusiastic to work with the linguists in tandem. The gap is wide apart. Let us hope for a mutual cooperation interface to develop between the two groups in near future. Lack of text from dialects. Present-day corpus fails to consider the impromptu, non-prepared dialects taking place spontaneously in daily linguistic exercises. Absence of text from dialects, dialogic interactions make a corpus cripple, lacking in aspect of spontaneity, a valuable trait of human language. Corpus, either in spoken or written form, is actually a database detached from the actual context of language use. Detachment from the context make a corpus and carcasses a dead database, which is devoid of many properties of living dialogic interaction, discourse, and pragmatic. It fails to reveal the real purpose underlying a linguistic negotiation, a difficult action game, identify the language in use, determine the verbal actions involved within the dialects, describe the background where from the interlocutors derive cognitive and perceptual means of communication. Another matter is lack of information from visual elements. Corpus doesn't contain graphs, tables, pictures, diagrams, figures, images, formula, and similar other visual elements, which are often used in a piece of text for proper cognition and understanding. A corpus devoid of such visual elements is bound to lose much of its information. Other limitation. Corpus creation and research works are unreasonably titled towards written text, which reduce importance of speech. In reality, however, speech represents our language in a more reliable fashion than writing. The complexities of speech corpus generation make it a rare commodity. Such easy availability of text corpus and the lack of speech corpus inspire people to turn toward the text corpus. However, this does not imply that speech corpus has lost its prime position in corpus linguistics research. Moreover, language stored in corpus fails to highlight the social, evocative, and historical aspects of language. Corpus cannot define why a particular dialect is used as the standard one, how dialectal differences play decisive roles to establish and maintain group identity. However, a dialect determines one's power, position, and status in society, how language differs depending on domains, registers, etc. Corpus also fails to ventilate how certain emotions are evoked by certain poetic texts, songs, and literature, how world knowledge and context play important roles to determine intended meaning of an utterances, how language evolved, divide, and merge with the change of time and society, etc. Okay, here you can see some suggested reading resources by different writers. Okay. You can look at them for further reading. In this session, we say something about the other concepts relating to the computational linguistic or corpus linguistic. We say something about parsing, what we mean by parsing. Parsing, which was the automatic analysis of text according to the grammar. It referred to practice of assigning syntactic structure to text, and it performed after the basic morphosyntactic categories have been identified within a text. Based on the different grammar, parsing brings these morphosyntactic categories into higher level syntactic relationship with one another. Sentence level parsing involves automatic context-based as well as context-free syntactic analysis using information acquired from word processing. A parsed corpus, which is a tree bank, because it alludes to tree diagram used in parsing. Therefore, we call the parsed corpus as a tree bank. The visual diagram of a tree structure is rarely found in corpus annotation. Generally, identical information is represented using sets of labeled brackets. And here we can see the example of tree bank, which we annotated the sentence by assigning the syntactic symbols to the words, like here. S, which stands for sentence, and P stands for noun phrase, VP stands for verb phrase, PP stands for prepositional phrase, which you can see the way which we write them. Here we read something about the differences between the parsing systems and their shared features. And about the advantages, disadvantages of the full manual parsing. About the tree banks and their features, which tree banks, we consider the tree banks as the language resource that provides annotation of natural language at various level of structure, word level, phrase level, sentence level, and sometimes at the level of functional argument structure. Tree banks have become crucially important for developing data-driven approaches to natural language processing, human language technologies, grammar extraction, and linguistic research in general. And here we say something about the processing of corpus text and about its importance. About the utility of corpus, we say that the information about all the properties and components used in language, like sound, phonemes, intonation, letters, punctuation, morphemes, word, and etc., grammatical and functional information of letters, graphemes, allographemes, morphemes, word, and others. Usage-based information of letters, characters, phonemes, morphemes, words, compound phrases, sentences, relating to descriptive, stylistic, metaphorical, and others. Extra linguistic information relating to times, place, situation, agent of language event, social, cultural backgrounds of linguistic acts, life and living of target speech community, discourse and pragmatics, as well as of the world knowledge of a language user at large. And about the use of the corpus. Corpus is used in this field: syntax, phonetic, phonology, prosody, intonation, language teaching, sociolinguistic, language planning, and other fields. And here we have other use of corpus, which is corpus as a knowledge resource, which I explain its details. Corpus as knowledge resource, corpus in language technology, which I told you it details, corpus for translation support systems, corpus for human machine interface systems, corpus in speech technology, corpus in mainstream linguistics. Here you can see the use of corpus, which is for knowledge, which we can consider it as a knowledge resource in language technology, translation support systems, for human machine interface system, corpus in speech technology, and in mainstream linguistics. Potential corpus users are the language specialists who are interested in the language of text, content specialists who are interested in the content of text, and media specialists who are interested in the Corpus as testbed for electronic devices. Here we say some details about these specialists. About the limitation of Corpus, which is a lack of linguistic generativity, technical difficulties, lack of text from dialects, lack of information from visual elements, and other limitations. You should read such concepts about the Corpus and its part and summarize them for this session. In this session we finished this article, which was about the Corpus linguistic, and we introduced the Corpus linguistic, which in these sessions we say something about the concept of Corpus linguistic. We give you the introduction of this matter. We define the Corpus. We say the salient feature of Corpus, and here we say something about the one type of Corpus, which is TDIL of Indian languages. This is not important, which is special just for Indian language. It is not important. You should know the general concept about the Corpus. Conceptual classification of corpora according to the genre of text, which we have the written corpus, speech corpus, spoken corpus. Nature of data, which is general corpus, special corpus, sublanguage corpus, sample corpus, literary corpus, monitor corpus. According to type of text, monolingual corpus, bilingual corpus, multilingual corpus. Purpose of design of corpus, which can be unannotated corpus, annotated corpus, which you can see its example in this parenthesis. TDIL corpus, British National Corpus. Nature of application, translation corpora, online corpus, parallel corpus, reference corpus, comparable corpus, opportunistic corpus. About the text corpus generation, size of corpus, text representation, question of nativity, identification of target user. Here we can find the target user of each corpora, each corpus. Selection of time span, selection of text type, method of data sampling, method of data input, hardware requirement, management of data files, corpus annotation or editing, problem of copyright, corpus processing, frequency count, word sorting, concordance, lexical collocation, keyword in context, local word grouping, morphological processing, part of speech tagging, word sense tagging, result of tagging, which is rightly tagged word, untagged words, ambiguously tagged words, lemmatization, annotation, which is part of speech annotation, anaphoric annotation, prosodic annotation, semantic annotation, discourse annotation, and about the parsing, which we and its following, which we explained them in this session. Therefore, in this session we finish this article which we explained it in the previous sessions. Please do the task of this session, which was about the parsing, utility of corpus, use of corpus, potential corpus users, limitation of corpus. Please summarize them in just 1, 2 or 3 pages.